All right, so I'll get us started here. Are people able to ask questions, or do they have to type them in the chat?
I think for process sake, I mean, that's up to you. They can talk out loud, or you want to write them in the chat. We can do them at the end. That's what we typically do.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So if everyone heard that, if you have any questions, just put them in the chat. I'll give it a thumbs up, and we'll circle back at the end of the call.
Which that actually happens to be our first slide. So if you want to jump onto that one, we can. The one thing I'll say here is I want questions. I know we've got an hour on the calendar. I probably have 20 to 25 minutes of topics to discuss. And then I want to spend the rest of the time answering questions that you might have. So whether they're Bish's RV related, career in general, I'm a pretty open book, so ask away. I'll answer the best that I can. So if you guys don't have a lot of questions, we probably won't be that long, but I expect you guys will have quite a few, and we can get into depth on whatever you want to know. So you want to jump to the next one, Kaylee? All right, so I'm Mike Elder. I'll just kind of give you a high level of who I am and how I got to be at Bish's RV. Went to a college in Michigan called Eastern Michigan University. So I didn't go to any real well-known Ivy League college or anything like that. It's pretty typical university based here. Went there for my bachelor's, graduated in 2007, and kind of just kept going for a master's degree. About that same time, I joined a company called Pet Supplies Plus, based in Michigan. Initially, I was doing warehouse management for them. That transformed into demand planning. So kind of taken really with a focus on our imports, because we struggled with staying in stock. That transformed into operations management. I did sourcing, private label work for a while, and ultimately I was there about 11 years. And then I made the jump over to a company called General RV, which is an RV dealership based in Michigan, but they've got sites around the country. So that really got me my first step into the RV industry. And then about a year and a half ago, I joined Bish's RV. Joined on the parts side. And about 6 months ago, I moved into a role overseeing all the fixed operations. And what fixed operations means in the RV industry is really parts and service. So getting RVs ready to sell to customers, getting the parts they need to make a successful first camping trip, all that kind of stuff falls under my purview here. So if you want to jump to the next slide. So part of what I want to talk to you guys about today is why Bish's RV. So obviously you guys had some interest by joining this. So I really want to kind of tell you what Bish's RV is compared to the RV industry. And let me start with why I joined Bish's. So we are fundamentally different from most dealers in the industry because we truly care about the customer. That's our number one objective, is taking care of the customer. And it's something that, from being in the RV industry before, isn't always the number one thing for dealerships. So for me, being able to take pride in what I do, it's a big one. I don't want to work somewhere where you're afraid to wear their sweatshirt because you think people are going to start screaming at you. Because I've been there. That's not who Bish's is. So the other aspect of it is we're really looking to reinvent the industry. So right now, let's say you owned an RV and you took it in to get it fixed, you're going to spend about 45 days without your RV on average. And that's considered good in this industry. So what we're really looking to do is overhaul how we take care of the customer. And I'll get into more depth on that as we go further in this conversation. But that's the kind of stuff we're looking to do, is take that 45-day number and get it down to 5 or 1, which is, if if you talk to people in the industry, it's pretty drastic. And again, we'll get into that a little more as we keep talking, but it gives you the ability to really be at the forefront of a lot of change. Another reason I think Bish is a great opportunity is you have the ability to learn a lot of aspects of a business in a short amount of time. Again, I've got a slide on this one, but I'll give you some kind of high level on it. If you went and worked for some major Fortune 500 company, say Ford or GM or someone like that, you're gonna get in there and you're gonna have one thing you do, and you might do that one thing for 5 years, and then you get to try something different. I'd say at a company like Bish's, you're going to learn a lot more aspects of the business in a much shorter time. So we'll get deeper into that, but that's kind of high level. One of the aspects there. The last one is the ability to grow as the company grows. So this is one that, let me look at my slides real quick. Sorry. So this is one that the biggest thing holding up from expanding and growing our footprint faster than we already are is people. We need smart people that can come in, take control of whatever department they're in, and continue growing with us. If we get to the point where we never hire somebody at the manager level or higher from outside of our organization, I would be so proud. Because we're actually developing our people internally and turning them into our next service managers and sales managers and general managers, and have this pipeline of great people from within our organization. That is where I want to be. And really being able to get people like yourselves in the organization is how we're going to do it. We'll talk a little more on that one, but that's kind of at a high level. We want to be able to grow people, and yourselves as the company grows, it creates a lot of opportunities for you to grow. So if you want to jump on to the next one. So talking about that growth, back in this, I'll even go back prior to the slide here, but back in about 2017, we had 3 dealerships all in Idaho. So we were one state, small business. They ran a good business, but they definitely weren't the size we are today. So we came in, we brought some new leadership at the company in, and as you can see, in the last roughly 4 years, we've grown almost 6x. So we've gone from 4 locations to 23, gone from 2 states to 11 states. So when you're a part of an organization that grows like this, it creates a ton of opportunity for you. So we've had people that, you know, if they worked at a big company, they'd kind of get stuck in that traditional career pipeline. We've got people that have been able to move up quickly in their career because of the opportunities that these acquisitions have created. So that's one that when you're thinking about what you want to do and kind of what your career vision for yourself is, if you're looking to grow both personally and financially, being with a company that's on a strong growth trajectory is somewhere you want to be. You know, if you get somewhere that's a really established business, think of like a Walmart, right? They're pretty saturated. There's probably not an overwhelming amount of real rapid growth you could experience. Whereas with a company like us, I mean, we're at 23 locations right now. If we had the people, we could buy 20 more tomorrow. And that's not an exaggeration. We're literally telling people no all the time because we don't have the people to run them. And that's really, again, where you guys come in. So as you can see, we've had pretty aggressive growth path over the last 5 years, and I expect it to continue to be as aggressive as we move forward. Let's see. All right, Sydney, I see a question from you. What's the biggest growing pains that Bish's has experienced? Honestly, it's probably just that. It's as we make these acquisitions, what typically happens is a husband and wife will own the location and they'll run it day to day. They'll be the general manager or operations manager, whatever you want to call that person. So what happens is they get to a point in their life where they're ready to retire. And nobody in that dealership is at a point that they could run it day to day. And with that, they sell the business, but we now have to find somebody to step in and be the general manager of that store. Finding the right people to run that store is our biggest issue. Again, if we had 30 people that were at the point in their career where they're ready to take on a store themselves, we would buy 30 stores and put them in those 30 stores. So I'd say that's at least for me the biggest challenge that I've seen. Joseph, you got, what are all the departments for the company? So we've got sales, you've got finance, you've got parts, service, and warranty. We also have rentals in one location, but we only do that in Salt Lake City. So really there's 5 main departments that they've all got different growth paths and different career trajectories. So if you want to jump to the next one, Kaylee. So one of the big questions on everybody's mind is always expected earnings, right? So national average coming out of college is about $55,000 a year for that first year. As you can see, we've got a chart on the bottom there with our first year earnings of employees coming out of college. And it ranges from about 50, maybe 45,000 on the low end up to probably 110 on the high end there. But the important thing is our average is about 75,000. So people coming in can typically expect to make right around that number. And one of the things with the industry is if you're really strong, it's a lot of the roles are partially commission based. If you're really strong, that's how you get up to that $110,000 number your first year. And you get in, really grab the bull by the horns, and you can make a really good living first year out of college. So Kaylee, next one. So operations management, that's what we're really here to discuss today. But again, if you guys have other questions, I'll answer them. But operations management for us, it's the linchpin to ensuring customers are taken care of timely and our employees can make as much money as possible. So what I mean by that is, I think the customer piece I already touched on a little bit with the average time to get an RV back is about 45 days after bringing it in for service. But the employees getting paid as much as possible piece, that really circles around our technicians. So most technicians that you have will be on flat rate. And what flat rate is they get paid by the job. So they could be there all day and do nothing, and they're not really going to get paid. They could be there all day and bill 16 hours of work when they were there for 8, and they're going to get paid for 16 hours. So from the operations management side, being able to keep them fed and busy with the right work keeps them productive, which keeps that money in their pocket, ultimately keeps the rest of the dealership running well. I see a question here. Is the average base salary starting at 75? No, that's all in. So the base salaries vary by role. They typically range from, I think, probably 40 grand on the low end to mid 50s on the high end. And the rest of it is basically on that variable pay, which the variable pay piece can be scary. The thing is, if you look at industry, executives, CEOs, people at that level, close to 75% of their pay is variable pay. So as you continue to move up in your career, that's going to be something you experience. And really, it all comes down to what you can deliver and what you can make. So no, 75 is not the base, but it's probably closer to that mid 40s to mid 50s number. So Kaylee, next one. So this is kind of everything trying to funnel into a shop. We've got 5 main buckets of work that's trying to fit into one RV shop. So you've got, when RVs come from the factory, they're in rough shape. It's not like a car where they take the plastic off and fill it up with gas and it's pretty much ready to go. an RV takes anywhere between 6 and 10 hours of work to get it ready for a customer to take home. So that's what we consider the pre-delivery inspection work or the internal work. And that's a huge component to be able to sell RVs. If that work doesn't get done timely, we can't actually get the customers in them, then nobody's camping because they can't even take the unit home. Then you have, when the unit gets sold, customers may want different accessories added, different things to make their RV special to them or more functional to them. That's called get readies. Then next up, you have customer pay work. So let's say that something broke and you're outside of your warranty. They're going to call up, they're going to bring that in. And typically what we run into is between about May 1st and September 1st, everybody wants everything fixed because that's the seasonality of the business, right? Especially in the northern climates. So getting all that work in it becomes a serious bottleneck. And then you've got two kinds of warranty work. So customer warranty work and internal warranty work. So really what we want to drive as a company here is how do we take that operations management role and effectively get all 5 kinds of work moving through the shop at the right time so that the technicians can get it done and the customers can get their RVs back to keep camping. The sales team has RVs ready to sell, and we're actually moving things through in an efficient manner. And that's really, different people call it dispatch. Some call it operations management. It's really being able to schedule effectively and really change on the fly as different things come at you during the day. So, Kaylee, next one. So here's back to the reinventing the industry piece. So as I said, customers wait about 46 days to get their RV repaired. The camping season, which it's always a little different based on when the weather breaks, but it's about 100 days. So you're going to spend, if you're an owner of an RV, half of your year with it in the shop. I don't know what would be more infuriating to me than losing my RV for half the year, but that's actually considered normal. We actually won an award this year because we were like 42 days on average, which is embarrassing. So we're actually going through and we're trying to completely change things. And that's where the innovation of our company comes in. We're trying to actually create technicians that will talk to the customer before they even come into our dealership. And we'll use different technology like Zoom and Teams where we can see what's wrong with it. We can actually try and have that part ordered before they even come in, so that when they get here, we already have the part and they're here one day, we get them into the shop, we get it taken care of, and they take it home that same day. That's pretty different for the industry. There's different companies I've heard have done things in different areas. Trucking, I know, does that. But for the RV industry, it's very foreign. So we're trying to really lead a charge here to get customers their RVs back in the least amount of time. And that's where if we don't have good operations management going on, that's going to get stuck in the shop because we assigned it to the wrong technician, or that tech already had 3 days worth of work in front of them, or whatever it may be. That's where the operations management is the linchpin to making sure it gets through the shop in a timely manner. And, in today's environment of 46 days, but in the future environment of 5 days or less. So next slide, please. So this is where I'll go a little deeper on the ability to learn different facets of the business quickly. So when you have a big business, you go start, like I said, at a Ford or a GM or whoever it may be. You've got your 401k, you've got security, that company's been around for 100 years. They have established training programs you're going to get put into. I mean, that's a lot of the benefits that you think of coming out of school, is to be able to really tie into that. So if you go to the other extreme of the benefits of like a startup, you get to learn all kinds of stuff. You're going to wear multiple hats, right? You might be one day talking to customers, the next day you might be building something yourself. the benefits of Bish is that we act like a startup, but we've got the benefits of the large organization. So we've been around 30 years. We've got that 401k. We've got rapid growth that in tune gives people a lot of opportunities. So I think to myself, when I was coming out of college, I wanted opportunities to grow. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I wanted to make more money. So with it, I envision that as growth, right? Well, if you're at a big company, you may start out, but you, like I said, you may be in that role for 5 or 10 years. I'm partial to the auto industry because I live outside Detroit, and I know people that have gone to, the big three, and they're in their role for 10 years, and they've got their normal 3% cost of living, more like 10% this year, cost of living increases. But that's it. They're doing this pretty close to the same thing they did 10 years ago. Whereas at Bish's, if you're an ambitious person that wants to learn and do more, we've got more openings than we can handle. Going back to the biggest challenge with, or the biggest growing pains with adding 20 dealerships effectively, is having strong people to step in and lead those departments. So if you're somebody that comes in, can prove themselves at the role that they have, there's more opportunities to grow with this company than probably most others that you would ever talk to. So the question on the future environment for 5 days or less, to be able to get a customer's RV fixed. So from the time they bring it into us to the time they take it back home, we want that to be under 5 days. And that's where today it's more like an industry average of 45, 46 days. So we want to cut it by almost 90%.
So I have a question. So what is the difference between working in this type of business than working from school? And how much, what is your work-life balance like as employees?
Was your first one the difference between working for this type of business and a startup? Was that the first question you had?
And school.
And what? Sorry.
Like going to school.
Oh,
and
okay.
Then, what is your work-life balance like? And do you generally work on the weekends or just during the week?
It depends what you do. Like I'd say salespeople, like let's say you join Bish as a salesperson, you're probably going to work Saturdays. And honestly, you probably want to work Saturdays because that's where you have most of your buyers coming in. You want to be in front of them because a sales role is a commission role, right? So that's where that type of role with the company, yeah, you're going to be in on Saturdays. If you're like a warranty administrator, so you're the one submitting all the warranty claims to the manufacturers, that's typically a Monday through Friday job. Technicians, their schedules vary. Some work Monday through Friday, some work Saturdays. So it really comes down to what you're doing with the company. I'd say a good chunk of the roles do work Saturdays, but not all.
What do you mean a good chunk?
Probably 3/4 of the people in a dealership work Saturdays and have a different day off during the week.
Like across the United States, how many businesses work on Saturdays?
Oh, I don't have a solid number on that. I know if you're working retail, like think of, you're managing a grocery store, managing something like that. All those people work Saturdays and Sundays sometime. If you're working an office job, a lot of times those are Monday through Friday. So it all depends on what you want to do with your career and, really how quickly you want to move up, that kind of thing.
And then what's the work-life balance like? Like how much free time do people get in work?
Yeah, it's actually pretty good, especially. So we do seasonal hours. So pretty much in the fall and winter, we're 9 to 5. So typically our people are home by 5:30 and they're not back into work the next day till 9. In the summer, we have extended hours. So we may start at 8 and keep the dealership open till 6 or 7. But at the same time, the employees aren't working 10-hour days. They'll do, some people may start a little later, some may start a little earlier. Again, going back to salespeople, they don't need to be there at 8 a.m. They typically come in a little later during the day. And then they'll stay on till 6 o'clock just because that's when your customers, looking to buy RVs are going to be there.
So they still get plenty of free time?
Yeah, I mean, we're not working people 16 hours a day or anything like that. We're I think that's a good recipe for employee turnover. And one of the big pieces of our company is the culture. We want fun to be a part of the culture, and it's not forced fun. So we want people to be able to relax, have a good, healthy work-life balance. I think there's very few people that work more than 50 hours a week. And even the ones that work at that number are typically your general managers and stuff like that are really trying to make sure everything's I's are getting dotted and T's are getting crossed.
Mm-hmm.
So it says, what is a typical amount of RVs that somebody can sell in a week? So to answer Landon's question, a good number there that we consider for kind of our thresholds get moved into leadership pipeline is 100 RVs a year. So in the winter, that might mean you're selling 1 a week. In the summer, you might be selling 3 or 4, just because of the
Do you
seasonality.
offer like summer internships?
We do some summer internships based
for
on,
recruiting?
yeah, we do some of those. Kaylee would have more information on that.
So
but
if
we
I
have
were
those.
to have Camp Electric internship over like 1 week in July, would I be able to take off like during the summer internship for just that 1 week?
Yeah, Jake, I can definitely have a separate conversation with you on all those questions for sure, and what an internship looks like. Just put your email in the chat and I can shoot you an email.
I was just saying, if I were to like get off for like 1 day, like 1 week for Camp Electric to be an intern, is that allowed or no?
Yeah, typically in any type of internship, we're going to work with, what your schedule. We know that school is your main focus, but you're also wanting to make a learning experience with the time that you have off from school.
Yeah,
So yes,
like maybe like summer 2023. When would you start?
yeah, typically you're usually done with your spring semester in like May, June, depending on the school that you're going to.
I think I'm done in like April.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely connect with you on the side and we can discuss, what that would look like for you, but since you'd be done in April.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it's Bish Incorporated. It's a recruiting business.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I will definitely reach out to you. Thank you.
Just reach out to me like, so your name is Kaylee Belanger?
Yes, Kaylee Bellinger. Yep.
So where would you contact me? I think it's either my CTX email or my Super Jake email.
Why don't you put your email in the chat and I can shoot you an email from there. Thanks, Jake.
All right.
Do you have
So
any Go ahead.
well, to answer Faith and Dustin's questions about remote or hybrid work, we have some. We don't have an overwhelming amount, but we've got a couple of roles we're building out right now where it's remote parts ordering and remote warranty work. So they're typically on the lower end of our pay scale, but we do have those remote options. But for operations management, that kind of stuff, those are all in dealership. You just want to jump to the next slide. So to cover the kind of ability for personal growth. So I know I've touched on it a little bit here with really being able to grow quickly with the organization. So here's kind of a roadmap of what people can make in the RV industry at Bish's RV. So you've got a number of people starting out in that kind of $65,000, $75,000 range that we were talking about. And as you can see, as you move up to parts or service roles, they can get you into 100 grand. If you move up to senior salespeople, that can get you close to 200. Sales and finance people, they can make 125. Service managers can make close to 200 grand. Sales and finance managers close to 200 grand. And then ultimately general managers and department directors can make 450 or more. So there's one that, with the organization that kind of going back to what I was saying with the ability to grow quickly, your personal income grows quickly as well as you're able to take on. The important thing is get into a role, prove yourself, kind of what we call lift where you stand. And as you get yourself proven in that role, then you're ready for the next role. So really, this is just kind of a snapshot of what some of the roles ultimately can pay in the RV industry. And it's not chump change. So there's money to be made here, which, I mean, I can tell you, coming out of college, I would have never considered the RV industry. I mean, I'll be honest with you on that front. I never thought, yeah, I'm going to go to the RV industry. You think of those big companies, right? You think of, oh, P&G or wherever it may be. I want to go somewhere big. I'm actually really glad I didn't do that, because if I did, I'd probably be sitting at a keyboard punching the same number I've been punching for the past 15 years. So that's kind of just a brief synopsis of a potential career path, earnings wise, right here. So Kaylee, if you want to jump to the next one, which is just what questions do you guys have? All right, let's see. Let me read Michael's questions here. The question is, what percentage of Bish's business is worth campers versus RVs? So it varies by dealership a little bit, but I would say probably 90% of our RVs that we sell people are tow behind. So either you've got travel trailers or fifth wheels. That's probably 90% of our volume. And the other 10% is made up of motorhomes or the vans, the class Bs, what we call them, where people go do the van life thing. So we have a couple of dealerships that do a lot of motorhome business, but we've actually got several dealerships that don't do motorhomes at all. So definitely the largest part of it is tow behind. So can I describe the service manager path? Yeah, absolutely. And that's one that there's actually a couple different ways to get to a service manager. So in service, you've got the service manager, then you've got operations manager under that oversees the shop. That's going back, make sure the right stuff's coming in at the right time. So what you'll see a lot is, technicians or people from outside the company will move into that operations management role. They really get their arms around the business. They understand it well. They become one of the top performers in the company, and they're eligible for that service manager position. The other way we see it play out is on the service advisor side. So when you bring your RV in to get fixed, you're going to get assigned a service advisor. Their job is to basically make sure that your experience is great and the RV gets taken care of as quickly as possible. As you get good at that and really establish yourself on that front, that's when you can actually become eligible for either a senior service advisor or a service manager role. So there's really two different paths of getting there. One is through the shop operations side, and one is through the customer facing side of the business. Let's see. So Charles asked, does Bish's have any data-driven roles like data analysis or data science? We do. So we've got a team of an analytics team that has, I think, 5 people on it that build out different reports so we can see the business in different aspects in different ways. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Tableau, but all of our reporting is run through Tableau right now. So yes, to answer that question, we absolutely do. Then tried to find remote options on the website, couldn't find any. So where we're at today is we're probably 6 weeks away from really ramping up those 2 remote roles. We've got about 6 people doing it right now. And we're going to build the team to probably closer to 30 or 40 in the next. We're going to start in about 6 weeks, but it'll probably take about a 6-month process to fully transition everything out of the dealerships and into the remote teams. So that's why you don't see anything posted yet. The other aspect is we know we've got people in our dealerships that are doing it today. So we're going to obviously offer them a role first. And if they want to do it in a remote aspect and they're a great employee, we're going to take them. If not, that's when we're going to start looking for other remote options. So Angel asked, any positions that are accounting related? Oh, looks like Kaylee replied to that one, but yes, we do have a fairly large accounting department. We've got a question from Joseph around what is the training process like? So typically what happens is when you come in, you're going to get assigned, I don't know if mentor is the right term, but basically a mentor. And we've got something called Accelerated Management Program, or AMP, which is actually the name at the top of that slide with the mountain with the money on it. So what that is you come in and you'll eventually get assigned to AMP. So the leadership pipeline is what we also call it. And with that, I should back up and say that we also have a training department that has a lot of content out there to help continue your career growth while you're with the company. So while you get put into this AMP program, you're going to get run through in different milestones around, one, becoming great at your current job, and then two, continuing to learn and develop your skill set for your next job. So we've got that formalized where you get brought in, and really they're tailored for different roles. So if you come in and say, hey, I want to be a parts manager. Okay, we've actually got a path for that is more tailored to parts manager role. If you come in and say, I want to be a sales manager or a finance manager, we've got paths developed for that. So they're all a little bit different based on what you want to do with your career. Question around, curious, for the operations focused roles, do these roles require sales or are they standard operations roles? No, they typically don't require sales. So what it is, to go a little deeper on it, is in some of our dealerships, you may have anywhere between 5 technicians or 50 technicians in there. They each have their own bay that they work out of. And for the operations management role, it's your job really to juggle what work is going to what technician. So you need to know this technician has X skill sets, so they may be able to handle 50% of the work that comes into the shop. So you need to make sure that you're assigning the right work to the right technician. Also, you need to make sure you're assigning that work in a time period where they can complete it to meet the required deadlines. So it's all about making sure that as those units are done getting worked on, you've got somebody coming to hook up to them and pull them out of the facility and pull another one into the facility so that the bays aren't sitting there empty. Because when the bays are sitting empty, that technician, going back to the flat rate conversation, they're not making any money when they're standing around with an empty bay. So that all falls on the operations manager to really get in there and do a great job of, all right, this guy is 5 minutes from being done with this job. Let's get the porter in here to get the next RV ready so that we can make that transition, all while making sure that the right work is ultimately going to the right people. So that's a little, I can go deeper if you want, but that's kind of a little deeper dive into what the operations management role is. So the next question is, are you guys only hiring for recent graduates or can alumni as well? Alumni also, we're looking to find great people to add to the company. One thing we've learned is by recruiting for colleges, we have a much stronger chance of people really catching on quickly and learning and growing with us. So we'll really interview anybody. But we've got a bias towards people like yourselves that are either in college or recently graduated. Because we know that you guys have shown the dedication to get through, at least 4 years of college to get you here. And we just truly believe that we're fishing in a pond that is going to produce much better results on average than interviewing anybody off the street. So ultimately we'll interview people that are alumni, that are in college, that are never gone to college. We'll interview any of them, but we've got a bias towards people like yourselves because you've proven that you can get through school. And with that, we believe that you'll be more successful quicker than other people. What other questions you guys have?
I just wanted to say, I don't want to keep going back and forth on the text, on the chat. So I have some experience in mostly operations on kind of the supply chain side of things. So obviously I'm interested in maybe growing within that field. So I was wondering if you have any specific openings for that in the Chicagoland area. And yeah, obviously I would like to learn more if you do have any openings.
Yeah, we have openings at the company. We don't have anything in the Chicagoland area right now. I'd say the closest we are to Chicago is we've got dealerships in Traverse City, Michigan, Ludington, Michigan, Grand Rapids, Coldwater, Davenport, Iowa, and Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So not specifically in Chicago, but within, I'd say, a number of them within 2 to 3 hours of there. Yep. Next question from Charles. Does Bish's help with relocation? That all comes down to the offer, but I would say it's definitely something that we do on a regular basis. So it depends on what you're doing for us, what role, but more often than not, we do try and help with that. What other questions you guys have about Bish's, about starting a career after college? What do you guys have?
I guess my question is, like, let's say you take the operations route, and you already have some experience. What are some areas you can grow in? Let's say you end up becoming an operation manager. What's kind of like the next step after that, after becoming an operations manager? Or I guess for others, whatever other field they're going in as well.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. So let's say you get hired on as an operations manager and you want to keep growing with the company. At that point, I would ask you what you want to do. Because at that point, let's say you've been with the company a year, 2 years, whatever it may be, maybe shorter, maybe longer, based on how well you do. And you may go, look, I want to keep moving up this route. I want to be service manager next. Okay, let's get you in the path to get you to a service manager role. But you may go, you know what? I see those sales guys and sales girls over there. That really intrigues me. You could actually shift over into the sales world and then work your way up that direction within the company. So it's not like, hey, you started in this path, you have to stay on this path. It's one of those that, let's say you come in as an ops manager and then become a service manager, and then go, now I want to try finance. Like, I want to try a finance manager. We'll actually put you into the pipeline as a finance manager candidate. You may end up spending some time in sales before you move into the finance manager role, but that's one of the nice things about Bish is if you want to shift your role within the company, we want to help you do that, because ultimately we want you to be successful and continue moving up. And whether that's in the fixed operation service side of the business or in the sales side of the business, we're also looking for good people to keep moving up within our company. So I know that's kind of a roundabout answer or way of saying that typically it's service, but if you want to do something else, we absolutely want you to do that. Quick overview of summer internship. Kaylee, do you want to talk to that one a little bit? I can, but you probably know it way better than me.
Yeah. So Saeed, who asked that question, is actually one of 3 interns that we're taking on this summer. He's going to be at Davenport with Farhad and Vicky and Mike Schley. And to be completely honest, you know, you are one of our first full service technician interns that we will kind of be playing with and seeing where, you know, you can not only bring your ideas to the table and implement in the short time that we have you, but, you know, how can, you know, you get your hands dirty and develop in the way that you need to. So it should be a very nice partnership in terms of you're learning and developing. We're also learning and developing from the ideas that you're bringing from the table. So I hate to say it's a work in progress, but I appreciate that you are coming on board this summer and we're super excited to work with you. If you ever have any other questions or concerns specifically, say you have my phone number. I know you're open to reaching out to me as well.
Let's see. So Joseph, it doesn't have to be your last question, but I see you said it was. For every employee on the call, what's our experience in the company? Is it just me and you, Kaylee, from Bish's here?
Yes.
You want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So I actually came from the spa and salon industry, total opposite of any of this stuff. I was in management and then I worked with Amazon for 2 years in a remote HR coordinator role. And I realized how much I miss the retail aspect of talking with people every single day and making that connection and relationships with everyone. And so coming from a larger company at Amazon and, you know, being a number and thinking that I was making impact in the day-to-day work I was completing, and then leaving my last day and no one saying goodbye or, you know, all of those small things, it really made me feel like, wow, I thought I did a lot here in the 2 years that I put in, but unfortunately, you know, that wasn't reflective of that, or people at least didn't want to express it to me. Where I come into Bish's and it's like, let's go. Like, that's all I can really say is like, you know, what can we do tomorrow? What can we do today to be better for tomorrow? You know, work-life balance is something that we touched on earlier. That's super big. Amazon, you know, they did teach me on a shift way that I can shut my laptop off and go home and think, but I've had previous jobs where I'm working 12, 14-hour days with the pressure to get things done. Yes, I feel that pressure in my current role, but I'm still comfortable going home at 5, 6 o'clock at night, focusing on that life, you know. Working hours are working hours, personal life is personal life. And I also really love that now that we continue to expand, there's so many more people that I get to touch in different areas and work with. Like Mike, I get to work with him. We went down to Southern Illinois University to do a presentation with the automotive tech. And then we get to also talk on acquisition calls. So there's a lot of people that you get to meet. There's a lot of ever-changing things. We're definitely not a black and white company, but I love that. I love that we have standard processes and procedures that we're willing to say, nope, that's not working. Okay, that's working. How can we do it better? So that's my spiel.
I'll give you my kind of sense of Bish's compared to where I've been. I mentioned I worked for Pet Supplies Plus for about 11 years. When I was there, they were actually owned by a private equity group. So for those of you, some of you may be familiar with what PE groups do, but for those that you are not familiar with private equity, typically they come in, they buy a business, they try and grow it over the 3 to 5 year period, and then they sell them to try and capitalize on a greater multiple than what they bought them at. So I experienced that for a better part of a decade. The challenges with that is, let's say that your business drastically needs to add 5 people, and you guys are just working 15 hours a day because you can't get through it. The PE firm, when you ask for help, is going to come through and cut somebody and say, hey, you need to do it with less. I remember when I started at Bish's, and I sat down with our president, and like, hey, we need to do this. We need to add headcount on this. His response was, okay, go do it. Like, it's the right thing to do. You're running your department, go do it. So that's the coolest experience that I've had is, you know, coming from an environment where it was an act of God to add somebody or to make a process change to somewhere where my boss goes, yeah, do it. If you need that person, you know that you can, you know, they're going to pay for themselves, get it done. Kind of like Kaylee said with let's go. Like, why are we still talking about it? That's my biggest experience with Bish's, honestly, is that ability to not have that, you know, red tape everywhere that you have to cut through. We don't have any of that. It's, if you see the right thing that needs to happen, we expect you to do it. You don't need 19 layers of approval to do it. So I say that that's my biggest experience professionally, compared to where I've been, which is I love. So what other questions? We got about 8 minutes left. If you guys have anything, if not, we don't have to go the whole time, but I don't want you guys to have to leave anything on the table.
So like when you first start out in the business, will you get a list of responsibilities every day that you'll have to do within 8 hours?
Yeah, so when you start in the organization, you'll have something called roadmaps. So it defines kind of your first 30 days, what you should be doing. And what you'll end up spending time in is each department. So you may spend 2 or 3 days with the salespeople. You may spend 4 or 5 days in parts. You may spend 4 or 5 days with external service advisors, working with customers. And it's not because we expect you necessarily to know how to do that job proficiently, but it's because we want you to be able to know what they go through on a day-to-day basis, for one. So 2, so you can get a better understanding of the industry. And 3, so that you actually know who you're working with and it's not a stranger on the other side of the building. So there's those first 30 days are really spelled out for you.
So you have 8 hours and 30 days.
Yeah, your first 30 days are very well scripted in terms of what you should be doing.
And then your next like year or 2 comes after that.
Right. And that's when you'll get settled into whatever role you're hired in for. And you'll be really cranking away on that, trying to master that role. But if you're in our leadership pipeline, you'll also have continued learnings outside of your day-to-day role.
So the people would go to work at 9 and then they would end at 5 and then they would have when do they typically go to bed? Like 11 o'clock?
I don't know. I know some people in the organization like to go to bed at 6 o'clock and wake up at 2 in the morning. I know some people that like to go to bed at 1 a.m. Honestly, it's each person's different in that aspect. And as long as they're making it into work and doing a good job, it doesn't really matter to me that much when they go to bed, when they get up, as long as they're on time for work.
Yeah. So if you're not on time for work, what is the policy when you miss work? Like school?
Well, if it's prearranged, like let's say that you're in school, right? And you have a class from, if you want to say not on time, let's say you have a class from 8 a.m. to 9 or 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock every day, something like that. And we know that you have that schedule there. That to me is the way we write your schedule for you. So we sit down and go, hey, you've got class at this time. We need to make sure you get out of here by now. Like we've actually got one of our parts managers in Salt Lake City. He's going to college right now. So he's got to have, I think it's on Tuesdays, he needs to be out the door by 4:30. Okay. He's working to better himself. We make sure his schedule is set up accordingly that he can make it to school by 5 o'clock every Tuesday. Good for him, right? He's trying to better himself. So I wouldn't consider that being late or leaving early. We would just write schedules accordingly to make sure that you're able to spend time at work and then you can also make it to school. So any other questions from the group? All right. Now I appreciate everybody's time today. If nobody's got anything else, If you have any other questions that you think of after we get off the call here, you got Kaylee's email right
Also,
there.
I might have a question. Like in the future, will, for example, work hours be reduced or things like that?
When you say will they be reduced, what do you mean by that?
Like reduced from 8 hours to like a little bit shorter than that?
Probably not. I doubt that.
Because like technology will be changing and will be improving.
Technology will continue to evolve for us. I would say it will continue to refine the way that we do business. But what I found is technology never replaces business. So you're still going to have time that you're going to need to be in the dealerships working with customers. Technology should make your job easier or more efficient, but it doesn't replace people, and it doesn't replace the time that they need to be there.
I was just saying, because there's new AIs that are eventually going to come to business in the future.
There will be, and there are. I think that some of that stuff is so far down the road that it may not really be impactful in my career. It might in yours. But what I'd say is, with stuff like that, there's always other supports you have to put in place to ultimately make those successful. So that's where
I was just saying, like, you have to do the work. I was just like to cut it down a little bit short, like the number of hours, meaning from 8 to maybe like 6.
I'm sure we'll keep people busy for 8 hours a day. So, but any other questions from the group? If not, we can wrap it up. Like I said, you got Kaylee's email address on there. So if you have any other questions, let her know. She's great to work with, and I'm sure she'll get back to you quick.
Yeah, feel free, just send an email to that recruiting. I'll send you my calendar and we can schedule a one-on-one time. Usually takes, anywhere from 15 minutes to 30 minutes just to figure each other out. I just want to point out we have those 3 upcoming info sessions too. So they're going to be every Wednesday, same time as this one today at 4:30 p.m. MST or wherever you're at in time zones. And those are the topics that we're touching on. So, hey, thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for all the great questions and interactiveness. Hopefully we'll see you on the next call.